Hi, this is Attila 16 and this is a Steel Division Normandy 44 Battle Group Guide, and in this case this is the Guard Armored, the Household Division. So this is a tank-centric battle group, and as you can see here, and I will explain to you the rationale for all this. Okay, so Recon. This is a bit similar to the Polish battle group, but there's very few Recon I'm using right now. And it's not because they're bad, it's because turned out that I had an effective result without having that many Recons. So only 4 scouts. The scout unit has 5 men, so they're able to fight a little. They also have a universal carrier over there, and which has a machine gun, so you can have some firepower there, but your main purpose here is really to scout. Of course, in this battle group you could use these recce. They're pretty good, or these recce with the MG here, much faster, but yeah, I decided to go with a scout. So it's a bit slower, but it's more synchronized with your tank, let's say, and the scouts, since they have number, they can survive a bit longer than recces, for example. And also I'm considering that the recce vehicle here doesn't have armor piercing, so it's not good enough for the front line. Infantry. So here you can see why I have a few scouts. It's because I have a lot of rifles, and the rifles here are your main infantry. So 3 of them for phase A, and actually maybe I'll switch one for phase B. Yeah, like this. This way I'll have more. So phase A, a lot of riflemen, and this is your unit which you use to fight the enemy infantry, scout a bit, get suppressed, detect the enemy anti-tank, whatever. It's like they only cost 20 and they are numerous. So that's what you use these for. Vickers. So the Vickers will be good at suppressing the enemy infantry. Like any machine gun, you put that into buildings, you put that into a line of 3 to suppress the incoming enemy infantry. Then one brand group. This is useful to have in the initial move. So these guys have a machine gun, so they will suppress the enemy while your riflemen will move forward. Also, it comes with an half-track with the Browning machine gun here. Yes. So this is not anti-tank, but this is good suppression. Then phase B, I put additional riflemen, so 8 of them. Same rationale as before. Number, that's all that matter at that point. Then phase B, I bring some motorized rifle leader with 2 stars of experience. That's important. Also, they have smoke, not important here, but Browning. So it's mainly for the bonus it gives the rest of the troops. Finally, here in phase C, I bring the Assault Pioneer, which have heavy explosive charge, and also have a Steward, which has 2 machine gun here, so this can be pretty effective at suppressing the enemy. So this is an infantry group here which is mainly focused about scouting for your tank, because this is a tank division. So number, not so much efficiency, but number, and it's a way to trigger the enemy. There. So that's the main interest of this battle group. So you have a lot of tank. And here you go, phase A, I bring 2 Steward, version 6. 2 group actually, so that's 6 of them. 8 armor piercing, that's really good. And 6 armor, which is okay. But what's interesting here is the machine gun. So you have a lot of them, 3 of them. And that makes them super effective at suppressing the enemy infantry and anti-tank gun. So you can make a war of movement. You also go at 30 km/h off-road and 75 km/h on road, so that's good. But here, what's really important is for phase A, as a tank division, it's really your capacity at suppressing the enemy anti-tank. And if you're fighting Firefly, for example, or that kind of stuff, for phase A, these guys, you can hide them rather quick and then just camp it out until Firefly get into a position where you can kill it. Then also for phase A, I bring a command Cromwell 4. This has 11 armor piercing, 7 armor, so it's not super good, but this is a rather fast moving tank, so that's practical. You can move around, and that's good. Then phase B, I bring the Cromwell 7. This is a really good Cromwell because first of all you have the advantage of the Cromwell in terms of speed, so you can maneuver around and be effective, and it has actually the same stats as Sherman, so you'll be able to maneuver against enemy tank and be very effective. So you have the same armor essentially, or nearly, if you look at this. A bit less on the side, but that doesn't matter. Now, the main difference between this and Sherman, aside from the armor piercing and armor, is the fact that the Sherman might have more machine gun. But the fact that you have less machine gun doesn't matter much because the Cromwell, it's mainly a tank versus tank usage, I will say. You'll rely on your infantry to mainly suppress the enemy infantry, I guess. If you are in a smaller map than a 10 versus 10, you might want to go with a Sherman though, because it will be better at dealing with infantry at close proximity. But in 10 versus 10, where you have to fight at long range, this is the Cromwell 7, sorry, is a much better choice. Then phase B, the main advantage of the Guard Armored is that you can actually call 2 Firefly in phase B. They don't have experience, but they have quite a bunch. Now the problem with the Firefly currently, I'm not sure if that will remain that way, but it's that it's super expensive. It's 210 points, and as a result, you really need to be careful with them, and you really need to keep your points. So that's why I'm not going too much with the Sherman 5 here, because the Firefly will drain all your resources. And the Sherman 5 here in B phase and C phase, they're just not strong enough to fight an armored deck of the German. It's like you can, in small map with a lot of forest and place to ambush, maybe, but in 10 versus 10 in open space, you need to rely on the Firefly to fight, and the Sherman 5 is just outclassed. And that's pretty much it. Phase C, bring additional Fireflies, group of 2 here, and 2 Firefly with experience. So this is really important. That's why you need command armor or command infantry, because you need to boost these single star into multiple star. And the thing is that by phase C, against the German, you fight King Tiger, Panthers, and as a result, even though you have 16 armor piercing, it's usually not enough, and everything can kill you because you have only 11 armor piercing, so that's really problematic. Now to complement all this, you have the support tab here, and I bring a Dingo, which is a really cheap way to get the command star, I suppose, and I guess it's useful, but this is really a cheap way to get the leader. So then I bring a Cromwell, 2 of them for phase A. That's actually something which is important, because for the initial phase A, having Cromwell can be really useful to kill enemy anti-tank. It's also useful to deal with enemy infantry. So this is, and it has a range of 1.2 kilometers, so that means that you can actually fire at enemy tank beyond their range, which is 1 kilometer for phase A tank. So as a result, this is a really practical tank to have to suppress the enemy. Then I bring the SOD, which is an anti-tank vehicle, but above all, it's a command vehicle with 2 stars. So, and it's not that expensive, 40 points. I never saw that kill anything, but it has a Piat of 200-meter range. Then B phase, I bring supplies, and this is mainly for the Cromwell, because Cromwell by phase B might run out of ammo. I've seen Cromwell run regularly out of ammo, even though they have actually 47 rounds. So that's that just tells you how much infantry and stuff they fired at. Phase B, additional Cromwell, 3 of them this time. And that tells you how many infantry you might end up facing in 10 versus 10. Okay, anti-tank. Oh well, that might be the shock for you, but look at that. So for phase A, 6 PDR, and this is actually really useful because especially in 10 versus 10 once again. This might be a bit different for a smaller battle, but in 10 versus 10 you really need to get rid of as much vehicle as possible, and the 6 PDR might be your best friend there, and all in phase A. So early on you will rely a lot on those anti-tank gun, and even in phase B and C when you're facing Tiger and King Tiger, just having that small gun near you suppressing the enemy tank without having much of a chance of killing it, that might be enough to make the tank panic and pull back. So even though it's not that powerful of a gun, having many of them is really useful. Also, having many of them make you more able to to replace anything you lose to an airstrike, for example. Oh yeah, and in phase B, I'm actually bringing one 17 PDR. Now, I could potentially bring the Achille, but I prefer to spend all my points on Fireflies. Okay, anti-air. Now that's a bit of that appear to be weak as an anti-air battle group, but well, anti-air capacity here. I guess you could bring many more, but in this case, what I found out is that I actually end up rarely calling in more than 2 Crusader or 2 of these, and if you're careful enough with them, you can actually use them, and that will be sufficient to defend your tank. And of course, because these are armored, so they will survive airstrike potentially, and they will survive many things. And usually, if you keep them with supplies, you can potentially defend your tank long enough to not have to bring more anti-air. Artillery wise, so Sexton, this is really not that powerful of an artillery piece, and but what's interesting is your capacity to do a smoke screen, especially with your Fireflies, where you'll need to maneuver around. So having that capacity is really important, and yeah, you also have the mobility. Since it's a tank, you have a higher chance of surviving counter battery fire, so that's good. Then phase C, I bring 2 Cromwell with 140mm artillery. This is useful against enemy infantry, or to make well, to bombard the enemy artillery. And you also have 2 machine gun in this case, so that can be useful up to a certain point. But this is really good for stalling an enemy armor division or whatever comes your way. Okay, in terms of air, so first phase A, I bring a Spitfire MK, that's 9. Now this is an air-to-air, no, actually that's not, that's the wrong one which was selected there. Okay, so this is an air-to-ground plane, and this is good to bombard, to make panic an anti-tank gun. And other than that, it's not that great at anything else. Then phase B, I bring the Tempest, because this is something that you'll need to work on, is to achieve air superiority. And this is something you usually achieve during phase B. That's why I'm not calling the phase C one, because I want to achieve it at least at phase B, because I need to protect my tank from especially the Stuka and any armor piercing thing that can throw stuff at me. Then phase C, I bring some Tempest, and these are not particularly good anti-tank, but they will make them panic, so that's useful if there is a King Tiger or Tiger or something. Also, the area of effect is pretty good here. So this is a good plane. So this is pretty much the most effective unit set that I developed for 10 versus 10. Of course, maybe you'll need more Recon for smaller match, 4v4 for example. But for 10 versus 10, this is the best, the most effective version of this battle group I had. So I hope you appreciate that, and I'll publish very soon a video showing this in action. So I'll see you there.